Hi everybody, Jo here. Thanks so much for popping in again. I hope your week's starting well. Can't believe how these Mondays come round again and again. Now, it's been lovely that we've been doing festive cards the last couple of weeks, and we will resume with these again next week because as we're ever approaching Christmas and New Year. But I've been asked by a couple of you if I could do some birthday cards, but as sort of seasonal birthday cards. So it's using what you've got out sort of in your box, but it's more for a birthday. And obviously there are quite a lot of people that have birthdays around this time. It's quite funny, my husband has his birthday in December. I always feel for people because I tend to give him an extra birthday in the middle of the year in summer so that it's not in winter. Anyway, I digress. So today I've come up with this design. Now, if you're still into making your festive, you can easy. As I always say, this is just a starting point. You could use this design and make it into a Christmas card. But I just think it's lovely to have the colours and sort of the feeling of sort of winter, autumn, you know, this sort of time. But it's a birthday card. As always, I've got my matching envelope, look. And I just love the colours in this. I just think they work so well. So, plump up those cushions. I'm getting mine comfy behind my back. Been suffering with my back recently, so it's important when you're sitting, get nice and comfy before we start. And we're going to use a piece of multifarious card, and this one is 5.5 inches square. But as always, I do say, I'm just going to put that card where I can see it so I can remember what I'm doing. You know, you could make this design, just change it up. You could, if you wanted to do, you know, an A6 card, you could easily change the design slightly. Now, I'm going to start with some Lavinia low tack tape and just put it down the two sides. I just love, I mean, quite often we make a frame, don't we? But this, I like to just have the two sides. Then I'm going to pop that on my mat. The grid on this mat is so useful. And then I just want to make my lovely banner. As you know, I have a thing about banner cards, and we'll pop that there. So I've just got a small part of my design here, but my main design is going to be up here. And what I have found to start off with, I've got my fine liner pen and I'm going to be stamping mainly in brown. So before I start, I'm actually going to just put my wiggly lines. Now, again, you can do this after, you can do it freehand. I just find a bit of a wiggly line for me. And again, I'm not going to overthink it. Just to give me a bit of a, and quite often I stop, look, and if I think it looks like I've stopped, then I just put some little circles in. And again, that way it looks like they're supposed to be there. We'll maybe have 3 in a row there. We want it to look. There we go. And that's done. But again, if you don't want to do that, like I always say, just leave that bit off. Now I'm going to start and add some colour, and I'm going to come in with my elements and my blue lagoon. I've got my lovely stencil brush here, always in the lid, look. And I want my corners to be darker, so if I bring the finished one in just to show you, if you look, we've got the darker blue here and lighter in these. So it's important to think of that before we start. That hasn't happened by accident. I've purposely thought of that. So again, I'm going to put my brush in this first look because that's where I want it darker. And when I've got less ink on, now it's a very dark day here in Holmes Chapel in Cheshire today when I'm recording this, when I'm catching up with you. So I do apologise if we get shadows or it looks a bit dark. Unfortunately, the weather here is quite atrocious. And no matter what I do, I mean, I have to say, Eric's that cold today. He's in his bed. He's not even in the craft room with me because his bed is right under the radiator and he's snuggled up. We've been out and even put his coat on today, but I still think he feels a bit chilly, so he's decided not to come in and play. He's keeping warm by the radiator. So if you look, because I've started here, that's where the darker area is. Now bear in mind, this is just our almost behind the scenes adding colour, so don't worry too much about it. But we definitely want it darker here and sort of a haze here, a little area without too much blue. And then what we can do is when we've got less ink on our brush, look, just going to come in and I just want to add, again, if I show you on the finished one, I want a little bit of hint of blue here, hence the line will show the edge. So I'm just, when I've got less ink, look, just sort of go along there so that I can get a bit of that blue, but I've still got that almost white area, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to come in, so the other colour I'm using is the Sahara. As you know, definitely one of my favourite colours, this. But for this, I'm going to bring in one of the stencils, and this is the Flora. Any of your stencils will work really well. As I say, I just like this one because it's almost wispy, and I want it to look as though it's almost going away from my main area, just to take the eye away. And I'm mindful we've got edges, look, so I don't want to go over that. So if I pop it here, that would be nice just there, right. So again, I'm just going to put my ink, and I'm just going to start here, sort of at the edge of where the blue is. And I'm just holding my stencil down. And then as I've got less ink, I'm almost going to brush away in sort of a wispy motion. And if I lift that up, look, I know it's amazing how much ink there is there. Don't overdo this. It really is, to start off with, it's a bit of a tickle here. But it's really important to keep checking, because if I lift that up, look, and show you, because sometimes it doesn't, with the light, it doesn't look, but look, you've got enough ink there. I really don't want it to be too dark. I want it to help my stamping, not take over from my stamping, if that makes sense. So I want a little bit down here as well. So again, I'm just carefully, and by the way, if you look, you see this shape here, I'm almost going to mimic that in my stamping. One of the stamps I've chosen, look, and I know I'm a bit sad, but I like to do that. So I'm pointing that out so that you can see that that shape follows on with my stamping. And that little stamp is from the swirl set. But I'm only pointing that out now because you know me, I'm liable to forget later. So again, I want to add a little bit here, but I don't want to overcook it. So little bit of ink. And keep checking, that's enough. A little bit in there. Yeah, I really don't want to do any more to that. So if I bring that closer, I'm happy with that. Now, do bear in mind, couple of little tips, because I know we've got some lovely new followers. Your ink dries slower on your masking tape, so just be aware of that. Now, I'm going to add some stamping. Now, with the stamping, we have got so many lovely, lovely stamps. But I'm going to start off with the fir cone branch. And I'm going to be using my Versafine Clair. And that's because it's a permanent. I want that lovely fine detail. And it's the pine cone. Now, for me, I'm thinking, you know, this is a winter birthday card. So I'm thinking we'll have fir cones on the trees in winter. So we'll just have a little bit of stamping with this. Now, be mindful, you have got a ridge where your tape is. So do make sure you give a nice press. And also be mindful you've got space here. So I'm just going to pop another little branch coming in from the top here. Now, for those of you who are new, when I started off, I struggled with stamping. I seem to have weak arms and shoulders. So I just have a pile of copy paper because for me, that really helps with my stamping. But we all find little things that help, don't we? And I just want to catch a little bit of this down here. Again, giving it a good so that that'll just match. And I've got some, I know it looks a bit of a strange shape at the minute. Now I'm just giving that a wipe. I have a damp cloth, and then I have an Inky Binky, which is just a cotton rag, but it just saves me using lots of kitchen paper and things like that. Now we've got a wonderful stamp set, the Winter Berries. I love this. I'm going to use the larger one. I'm going to stick with the brown, just so it gives me a lovely cohesive design. No black stamping on this one. And I want this to be my main feature, so that's going to come there. And just once there, that's enough with that one. And again, I'm just going to give that a wipe. For me, I like to clean my stamps before I take them off, only because otherwise, once I get ink on my fingers, I find I would easily get it, and I need white areas on my card. And you know what it's like, ladies and gents, there's nothing worse. You get to the end of a design. I mean, it could still happen, but I just try to minimise it, the chance of me putting those marks on. Now, I'm just going to add a few of the little berries just at this section here. And then we'll add some underneath. And again, I've got some ink on my blocks. I'm just wiping that with my Inky Binky. So I'm thinking let's add some here. And then maybe just a little bit at the top there. And can you see how we're starting to build up this lovely shape? So I'm happy with that. So what I did was, when I was creating this, I was looking in my mini stamps, and this one is called Leaf 1 Mini. So these are the pound stamps, and I just think they're absolutely fabulous and wonderful for filling spaces. So we'll keep with the brown, and if we look here, we've got quite an area here to fill, and I don't want to overfill it with adding, I want my berries to be my main focal point. So I'm just going to add a little bit of first and second generation. Got my lovely swirl stamp to bring in as well. So I'm being mindful, I don't really want to stamp over my berries because I'm going to add colour to my berries. So I'm sort of being careful where I stamp this leaf. Right, and we'll just have a few down here. I think one there. Maybe it's just a bit of second generation at the end there. Right, so I'm going to stop with that. I can always come back and add a little bit more. I don't want to do too much. But as I said, I'm going to come in with this lovely, sorry, excuse me, lovely swirl. And this is off the swirl set. And there's 2 stamps in this set. It's a lovely little mini set. And these are the sort of stamps I always think, oh, what am I going to do with those? And then I use them and I think, oh, that is just the right one for that job. And we're going to come with our lovely Shady Lane, or Shady Lady as we call her, just to add a little bit of green. I know I'm going to colour my berries blue, but I just think I need to add a hint of another colour. So once again, I'm just going to bring in, and once I add this, again, you'll see how it just lifts the design. It's not going to take anything away from the design, but it will just add to it. And it's such a lovely stamp, this. And again, we can go first and second generation. And it's just really to keep the shape. And I think if I had a second there. So I tend to turn it round as I'm working. A little space there. So I think I just want, and if I can come this way. And again, the leaves, so, you know, they won't always go the same way. So I like that shape there. So we just need to add some at the base here. So let's have one there. And the second generation is so useful, especially near where I'm going to add colour to the berries. And I can just go round. Right, let's put this way. See that bit of green, just a little bit extra here. And again, it's quite funny, you have to be mindful where your tape is. Before now, I've stamped on the tape extra and thought, oh, that just needs it. But obviously, our tape finishes there. So I think that's just the right amount of green. Once again, I'm going to stop there because do you know what? When I've added my colour, if I need some more green, I can always add it. I'm just going to bring that down so you can see it. So we'll just give that a quick blot and then we'll add our colour. So for the colour, I'm going to do a little thing we've done a little bit before with our Wink of Stella instead of a water brush and our watercolour pencils. So the first thing I'm going to do is just with one of the browns, and I'm just going to get in that good habit of leaning on a piece of kitchen paper, and I'm just going to add a little bit of brown look to these lovely fir cones. It almost just gives them a bit more body, and also because we've got that blue underneath. Just having a look. Now, as well as the brown, I'm just going to add a little bit of orange around the edge. And when I had the Wink of Stella to do my watercolouring, that will just lift that tone. And I think the orange almost goes in because we've got that lovely Sahara, which is sort of a yellowy, orangey brown. Again, it will tone in. And it's just thinking about those colour tones. So for the blue, nothing difficult here, and we've done this before. A dark blue and a mid blue, and we'll colour our berries at the top. So I'm just going to add my dark blue round the edge and at the base look. And again, it's just some almost quick colouring. I'm not overthinking this. And the pencils work beautifully on top of the ink, so don't worry about that. And then I'll come in with my lighter blue. Just go over the whole thing. And again, you could stamp a few of these up if you wanted, because again, this would make a lovely get well card. And then you could stamp them up one morning and then say add your colour the following day. Have a lovely afternoon colouring in. I know so many of you have messaged and said you love this way of colouring in, and it's just added sort of sparkle to your work without it being too much. So we'll add the dark blue on the bottom, and it's not difficult. Sometimes I think we almost get scared of colouring, and you get such a lovely effect. I mean, I always call it a bit of a cheats way, because for me, I'm not a colourist, but I love adding colour, and I love the effect we get. And especially if it's, I say easy, but that's not in a derogatory term. It's sometimes we don't want anything too difficult, do we? Right, I think we've got all the ones that are on the card there. So here comes the Wink of Stella, and we'll do the lovely fir cones first. So again, I'm just mixing that, and the water content in the Wink of Stella will watercolour those pencils. And it gets a little bit of brown on the end of my brush, look, so I just wipe it, and there it's gone back to normal. So now with the blue, and it drags that dark blue into that light blue. And I don't need to clean my brush because I'm obviously colouring all my lovely blueberries. So again, I start at the light bit, look, and then go down into that dark, and you can see when the water part activates that lovely dark, and you get these beautiful, rich, sparkly berries. And the funny thing is, it is quite obvious if you miss any. So let's have a look. I think so I'm just going to again look, if I show you, if I clean my brush, so there is a little bit of blue, but a couple of wipes, look, and now we're back clear. But it is worth doing, so do make sure you do that. And then pop our watercolour pencils away. And then what I'm going to do is with my lovely Signo, I'm just going to, and the beauty of this is, because it's quite dry, I can add some lovely little highlights. Now again, I don't want to do too much, just maybe on a couple of the leaves, a couple of the berries. Now obviously with our Wink of Stella pens, which are fabulous, but we would have to let them dry before we added the white highlights. So what I like, so that's with the clean colour pens. So because we've used the Wink of Stella, we can actually add these lovely white highlights straight away. And if you've tried the clean colour pens, the Zig Clean Colour, they are beautiful. They give a beautiful result, but you do have to wait for them to dry. Otherwise, if I added white pen or white Posca, it almost takes on the colour because of just of the way they are. So for me, if I want something I want to add the white to straight away, this is just my colouring of choice. Right, I think I've got enough there. I don't want to overcook it, do I? So, need a little bit of Posca. Now again, if you don't like your Posca splats, but I'm going to give this a shake. But I just want to add a few, and I've gone for yellow. It would have been obvious to add white, but again, I'm thinking this is a birthday card. If it was a Christmas design, the white would be beautiful. But with it being a birthday card, could be a get well card, a thinking of you card. Do you know, it could even be a new home card. You could put the little pixie houses on. But I'm just going to add a nice little bit of yellow Posca. Now, the tape, it's low tack tape, and Lavinia low tack tape is fabulous, one of the best I've ever used, and it literally will, look, peel off like butter. But if you're a bit unsure, use your heat tool. Now this does two things. It's actually going to help dry all that ink I've put on. But also it helps melt that glue behind the tape, and it just means that the tape will definitely peel off nice and easy. So for me, it's a little bit like, you know, belt and braces. I know it's going to peel off, but I might as well use something that'll make it peel off even better. Look at that. And I've got to be honest, I just think that is such a pretty, such a lovely design. Now, one thing I like to do, and this is just me, this little bit here, I just like to extend it and put a little dot on it, just because then it looks like it's supposed to be there. But that's just me. Now we'll stamp a sentiment. And this one I've taken from the Heartfelt Verses, and we've just gone for birthday wishes. But as I say, you could put, there are so many other, but you know what I'm thinking? I mean, we've got the with love, or, so we've got one that's already birthday, haven't we? So let me just take this. Say this wasn't for a birthday. Let's put, we've got just for you. And then this card, see, I'm being a bit mindful here. This card can go in my box of for if I need that emergency card. And if I add just for you, and what I'm going to do is pop it here. I could always add birthday wishes. I could always put thinking of you. Just for you covers so many different eventualities, doesn't it? So I'm happy with that. But with this one, you know, what I am going to add. So look, my little box. Now, we know what we have in my little box. We have the mini Flutterby. So this is the pound butterfly stamp. And as you know, I stamp it. Oh, we've got some of the winter berries, look, with glossy accents on. So I just keep all my little stamps that I've stamped out in here on spare bits of paper, because we all keep those spare bits of paper, don't we? Now I'm thinking the colours on this will be just perfect for this card. And look, it's alive, it wants to fly off. Now I have choices. Thinking there, I could put it up there. Or do I put it there? Well, that's too far away. That, I think, loses it because of the dark here. So I'm either thinking there or up there. Now, I quite like it here in the... Right, so I'm going to go for that space. Now, when I cut them out, I do cut the antennae off. So with my brown pen, look, we'll draw them back on. And then with my bippity boppity glue, just a couple of little bits on the back. Now this one I'll put quite flat. You could 3D the wings if you wanted, but I'm thinking just in case I need to post this with postage, I'll keep it quite flat. And if I get rid of those, and I just think that additional butterfly, but again, you know me, like I keep telling you, I'm not very good at making the same card twice. So here's the original, and there's the lovely envelope, look. Now, just in case you're wondering, this lovely blue backing card has come from this beautiful majestic set of this lovely 6x6. So that fits perfectly when I'm doing a 6x6 card, and I'm using a 5.5 inch piece of multifarious. So I'm hoping you like that design. And to the two ladies that messaged me and said, would I make a sort of winter type birthday card? There we go. So I'm hoping you like that. But as I say, if you're still making your Christmas cards, you could easily change this and make it into a Christmas card. And tomorrow, let's make a birthday card with a winter type theme, but for a man. Now, we know they can be difficult. Sorry, men, but you can be. So I'm going to put my thinking cap on, make a brew, and see what I come up with. So you take care, everybody. Have a lovely evening. Put your feet up, relax, and just take time for yourself. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.